Welcome to From the Shed End with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me now. Before we get into the video, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's subscribed to the channel so far. I said about 2 weeks ago, I want to get to 150 subscribers, and we smashed through that ceiling. We're now at 200 plus subscribers. So if you haven't done so already and you're watching this video, please just smash the subscribe button and the like button as well. And let me know your thoughts in the comments as well about what we're going to be discussing. But let's get straight into it because we have a lot of transfers talk to get through as well today. But we do need to start on one key area, and that is going to be Petr Cech, who has decided he will step down from his role as technical and performance advisor as of the 30th of June. Now, legend at the club, let's get that right. Let's get that out of the way first of all. Legend as a player, legend in his role as well. Very integral in terms of getting Edouard Mendy into the club as well. But it seems like, behind the scenes, Todd Boehly coming in, obviously Marina, Bruce Buck leaving a couple of weeks ago now as well. A couple of other key backroom staff have also moved on. So it does say here, Petr was an important member of the Chelsea family. We understand his decision, massive keywords, his decision to step away, and thank him for his contributions as an advisor and his commitment to the club and to our community. We wish him the best. Now, I know on Twitter and on other YouTube channels, there has been talk about Petr Cech not getting on with the new ownership in terms of Todd Boehly and other sort of key figures at the club. Same with Marina and same with Bruce Buck. There has been some sort of discussions around Marina and Petr Cech wanting to keep Romelu Lukaku at the club for another season. Personally, I don't think that was what it was down to. I don't think it was a reason for Petr Cech to move on. I think he's probably just come to the decision that he wants to move on for the reasons that he wants to just move on to a new role, or he wants just a different change, just like anything. And I think when an owner comes in, you do find that there are structural changes at the top of any organisation. There's massive changes. Todd Boehly, obviously, before he took the club on, probably had people in mind to take on roles that he wanted them to take on. So I don't think it's any bad blood between Petr Cech and Todd Boehly. I just think at the end of the day, Petr Cech's decided he wants a new, fresh start, something different, a new challenge. He's always going to go down as a legend. Like I said, he was integral as a part of bringing Mendy to the club, especially when we needed Mendy with the form that Kepa was in at the time as well. And going back to his playing days as well, I mean, we've got to, he's definitely done a lot of work in terms of cementing himself as a Chelsea legend. And also as well, it says here, he strengthened links between the men's and academy teams. You think about some of those academy players that we've got to see over the last 3 years that have come through, still coming through now, who've gone out on loans and, moved on to other clubs and gone on to bigger and better things in some ways as well. So Petr Cech for me will always go down as a legend. He's someone that has been integral. He's been a key part of the club. Some successful times in terms of a goalkeeper, but just in terms of his off-field antics. Even the day when the Super League as well, and coming out and speaking out as well the way that he did when the Super League madness was going on. He's reasoning with the fans as well and trying to just understand that he's on their side as well, the fan side. That was it's a key moment for the club as well. It was a massive moment in football as well. So definitely goes down as a legend in my opinion. And I don't think anyone can disagree with that. But let's move over because we are seeing obviously a lot of changes at the club. We're seeing a lot of players who are moving on to different clubs or different roles and different responsibilities. But another key one for me is Andreas Christensen, who has today confirmed that he's leaving the club after many years. He's decided he wants a new challenge, and he'll be leaving as a free agent, a free player from July the 1st, which, if you've been following our channel or you look at other Chelsea channels, they'll tell you that this is not news. This has been something that has been on the cards for many months. He's obviously had conversations with Barcelona. His intention to go to Barcelona is massive. He wants to go there. Yeah, I mean, we got to remember we had a deal. It says here, Christensen had agreed terms over a new deal with the club, but he left Tuchel and the board furious when he made a U-turn on staying at the club. So, I mean, I've bashed Christensen at times, especially times when he's pulled out of games at last minute. But we do have to remember he's been at the club for some 10 years. It's a massive period, a massive chunk of his time. I think he came to Chelsea when he was 16, so it's a massive period of his life where he's had to mature, grow up, learn about himself on and off the field as a player and as a man as well. So to do that at the age that he did and cement himself into a team which had some brilliant defenders. You go back to the years that he's been around some brilliant defenders and bring himself into the team and give himself the opportunity to play at the level that he has. You've got to take your hat off to him because he's done well there. Massive for us in terms of losing Rudiger and Christensen in one season. And we might not be finished there. There's still talk about Cesar Azpilicueta going to Barcelona, Marcos Alonso wanting to go to Barcelona as well. So you do have to look at losing that core part of the team. You can understand why Tuchel was furious to not just lose Rudiger, but to also lose Andreas Christensen in one window, which we'll talk about a bit more later on. But he does go on to say that some of my proudest moments at the club were when we won the FA Youth Cup, the UEFA Youth League. Those were a special group of young players that I was proud to have as teammates. So, he's always come out as well and said, he's played under some brilliant managers, Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho, and obviously now Thomas Tuchel. Last year was one of my proudest achievements as a player when we lifted the Champions League in Porto. So, he's been through, some managers, he's been through some brilliant times, some downs as well. He's obviously gone on and said that, he doesn't really speak out in terms of his love for Chelsea and other things off the field. Mentally, he said, it's been tough and challenging for him over the last couple of years, but, it's one of those things, players come and go. We have to understand and respect when players want to move on to different clubs and do different things. So, look, Christensen for me is definitely someone who, is definitely integral. He's been a key part of the club. And yeah, I mean, look, We've got to understand that players need to look out for themselves as well. And if the deal that we had on the table wasn't right for him, or he thought that the deal that Barcelona was going to give him was going to be greater, was going to be better for him in terms of his career, then who are we to stop him from doing that? I just don't think we're in a position where we can tell a player not to do something. He doesn't, football doesn't work like that. And, players have to be selfish. They have to think about themselves. They have to think about, their ultimate goal. What do they want to achieve? If you've come to a club and you've won the Club World Cup, you've won the Champions League, you've won the FA Cups, you've won the Premier League, he probably just wants a new challenge. So, I can't really knock Christensen for that, but obviously there's been times where, he's pulled out of games at last minute, and I don't agree with that because, there's plenty of time where you can have that conversation with Thomas Tuchel or the manager at the time that it was, but it's just one of those things, we have to move on. We have to move on from Andreas Christensen, but we do wish him all the best wherever he ends up, whether it's Barcelona or another club as well. But speaking of Barcelona, let's move over to Ousmane Dembele, who is heavily linked. Well, he's been heavily linked for how long with us, and we still haven't got him as a player, so that's kind of telling. But Ousmane Dembele had conversations with Barcelona yesterday, Monday, the 27th of June it was yesterday. He's had conversations with Barcelona. Now, there was a key thing that came out of those discussions with Barcelona and Dembele. There was no new offer on the table from Barcelona for Ousmane Dembele. Now, it's interesting because his contract expires on the 30th of June, which is in 48 hours' time. It tells me now that we are in the driving seat for Ousmane Dembele. I think we always have been. There's other clubs. I think Bayern Munich have sort of been flirting around trying to sign him as well, but they've come out, I think, today and said that they haven't made an offer. Now, we've had conversations with him, and as you can see here that we reported earlier, a contract offer potentially has been offered to Dembele from Chelsea. So he's now got a choice of what does he do? Does he take the reduced salary offer from Barcelona, or does he take the Chelsea deal and link back up with Thomas Tuchel from their Dortmund days and try and bring himself to the Premier League? And again, new challenge. Me personally, I'm still on the fence with Dembele. I still think if we can keep him fit, we can keep him playing the way that we know that he can play, and he comes into the team and he does what he needs to do and stays fit, then no problem. No problem. Is he an upgrade from some of the other players that we've got in those areas, Hakim Ziyech or, Timo Werner, whoever it could be? Is he better than those? Possibly not. Possibly not. But I think we need to give him a try, and I think we need to understand a massive thing with this transfer window. And I said it a few weeks ago. To me, this is a transitional window. It's a massive transitional window. We're going to see players leave the club. We're going to see players come into the club. Do I think we're going to get all our transfers over the line? Possibly not. But I do think we need to understand that this window for me is not a window which I'm seeing a lot of on Twitter, and I'm seeing a lot on YouTube videos as well. But it's not the video for it's not the window for me to judge Todd Boehly, to judge Thomas Tuchel, to judge any of the players that come in. Of course, we want quality players to come in with depth. I think Dembele is a quality player. He just needs to consistently do it. So we have to remember, this is not FIFA. This is not Football Manager. This is something where in real life, everything happens in real time. Football Manager, you can sign someone within a day. This is not Football Manager. There's negotiations going on. There's going to be a medical. There's going to be all these things that happen. And we have to remember as well, the sanctions that we had at the club at the time, they've stalled a lot of things. You think back to, potentially we would have been in a conversation for Haaland. We would have potentially been in a conversation for Tchouaméni. These sort of players, top level quality players that we would have been in a conversation for. The sanctions that we had at the time, whilst Roman Abramovich was in the process of selling the club, have definitely derailed a lot of the transfer targets that we wanted to go for. Some players have gone on to sign contracts with the existing clubs that they're at, or they've gone on to, Man City or Real Madrid or wherever they've gone to. But I think in terms of the transfer now, you can see that it's, Lukaku's gone. You can see a lot of activity with some of the other players. And I think Dembele is one of those players that I think we will potentially get over the line. 48 hours time, there's going to be a decision made whether he accepts the deal that Barca have given to him, or he accepts a Chelsea one, or he looks elsewhere and becomes a free agent with no club during the summer, which isn't ideal because pre-season starts soon. The clubs are going to want their new signings in, and he's going to want to link up with the new team, wherever that may be, whether it's Chelsea or whether it's another club. So I think we need to hope that we can get this deal done over the line, which is going to be interesting because I think the next couple of days will tell us that. We'll know the next couple of days how that's going to work out. Interestingly as well, I'm going to keep it with our sort of wide attackers, and I'm going to speak about Raheem Sterling, who is another player who Fabrizio Romano this morning confirmed that we are in position to try and go back in for a new bid for Raheem Sterling. He does also talk about Delete and also Nathan Ake, which I'm going to speak about soon. But Raheem Sterling, now, it's a tough one. It's a tough one with Raheem Sterling because I like him as a player. I've been speaking to a couple of City players and they've been showing me a couple of stats and how he's been one of the best players under Pep Guardiola, which is a very, very key word, under Pep Guardiola, which is what I mentioned a couple of weeks ago in terms of some players play well under certain systems and certain managers, and they don't always cross that over to a new manager with a new system. Raheem Sterling, for me, is a player that's proven in the Premier League. He knows where the back of the net is. Yes, he misses a lot of chances. Yes, he takes too many touches. Yes, there's so many yeses and nos and pros and cons that we can talk about. But in terms of adapting and changing, and we have to remember as well, if we bring in Delete, there's been discussions around Timo Werner being part of that deal to go to Juve. So if we lose Timo Werner, Christian Pulisic, I'm still not convinced by. Kai Havertz, of course, I said a couple of months ago, we need to build the club around him, or one of the key players that we need to build the club around. So bringing in Raheem Sterling, who has had relatively good seasons under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, keen for the move. It looks like there's been conversations happening. I wouldn't be disappointed. I wouldn't be disappointed with Raheem Sterling coming in. It's going to be interesting if we can get it over the line. There doesn't seem to be any other club really interested to try and get Raheem Sterling. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, you make that assumption yourself. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But just for me personally, to see Raheem Sterling come to Chelsea, watching him from the Liverpool youth team to breaking into the Liverpool team and going on to win successful things for Manchester City, he brings a lot of experience, and I think that's one of the things, and Premier League experience as well. That's one of the things that we've lacked with some of our signings previously. They haven't had the experience in the Premier League. Raheem Sterling's done that. He's an England international. He's played on the highest stages. So for me, we need to get to. For me personally, this is more important than Ousmane Dembele, in my opinion. We need to bring in a player now that can do the job. Jesus would have been a good option, I think, and I think we would have potentially been able to probably link him up with Sterling. That would have been an ideal thing to do. But let Arsenal have him. It's fine. They'll finish out the top four anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But let's talk about Jules Koundé again, who seems to have dropped down the pecking order in terms of priorities for Chelsea. It looks like we're now going for delete, as I mentioned before. I think, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure we're looking at trying to get the deal done. But it's a bit of a strange one because we're talking about delete and we're talking about 100 million that will also include a player. Now, that player is meant to be Timo Werner. I'm going to be honest, it seems a bit excessive to play that much for someone who isn't necessarily, who was not the first choice of your signings. And I think maybe looking at that, me personally, I'd go for Jules Koundé now. I'd pay what Sevilla are wanting. I think it's 65 million to 70 million. I'd pay that and bring him in. Now, the flip side to that is we get rid of Timo Werner, who is keen to leave Chelsea after the season that he had. He wants another opportunity to prove himself elsewhere. Some of these players are going to try and do that because obviously the World Cup is coming up in the winter and they're going to want to be playing regular football. Now, is Timo Werner going to be doing that if Raheem Sterling comes in or Ousmane Dembele comes in? Or he's not going to be doing that. At Juventus, he might be getting a bit more football. So you can see why this deal is probably more attractive for clubs and for players because the league coming in, we need defenders. We've lost Christensen, Rudiger. We still might lose Azpilicueta. It kind of does make sense to do this, but I just think for the fee, it's a bit excessive, and we're adding a player into that as well. I don't know. I just think it's a bit much, but we have to see. I mean, I like him as a defender. I think he's a brilliant defender. He's someone, for me personally, that I've watched, for Juventus plenty of times, and I do like the way that he plays. I think him, Thiago Silva and Chalobah, a worst case would be my ideal back three if we were to keep as a back three. But we do need centre backs. We do need centre backs, and Nathan Ake out of nowhere has come as a shocking bit of news. Nathan Ake to Chelsea. I did not see that coming at all, which is weird because I don't think we've been linked with him at all, really. It's just kind of a name that came out of the blue. But as Simon Phillips mentioned earlier on today, we are also in for Zinchenko, which again out of the blue. I don't get it. I mean, does that mean Emerson's leaving? Does that mean that Marcus Alonso, obviously he looks like he's departing anyway? Does that mean Emerson goes on loan? Do we keep him? What about Ian Maatsen? Zinchenko is a very good player. I look at him in the Man City squad and he, for me, in fact, I'm going to say this about Nathan Ake as well, and they remind me of players that should just be playing in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup or against Nottingham Forest. You want to give your players a rest before a Champions League game. That's the players that I feel like Zinchenko and Nathan Ake are. Nathan Ake, to give him his credit, I mean, he's a proven centre-back, and is he going to be first choice at Chelsea? Possibly not. If we can bring in Jules Koundé, delete, and we can also bring in Nathan Ake, well, there's your three centre-backs solved, because you still have Chalobah, you still have Thiago Silva and Malang Sarr. Now, that's 6 centre-backs. It's a bit overkill. You'd expect one of them to go at some point, but Zinchenko, very, very interesting. Very interesting. I think highly unlikely that we're going to see all three come to Chelsea. I think ultimately Raheem Sterling is the top priority for the club at the moment. I think there's other options out there. We could bring in Delete and also bring in Jules Koundé. We still have Reece James that can play right centre-back as well. And we can try and retain, say, Azpilicueta for another season at a push. We still have Trevor Chalobah. So there's options there. Ampadu is another one. There's options there. Zinchenko, I'm going to sit down and just wait and see how it unfolds. Obviously, Simon Phillips is a very reliable source, but I just want to see how that unfolds, because for me, it's a bit of a tricky one. I don't think he would fit how we play. I just don't think he'd fit how we play. And I watch him, and he's almost the weakest link in the City squad. So he coming into Chelsea, where you've got hopefully Ben Chilwell, if you can get back to the level of fitness and the form that he got before his injury. I'd rather keep Emerson. I'd rather keep Emerson at the club. I'd rather give Ian Matson a try. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a strange one for me. But Raheem Sterling is got to be top priority now. I think we've lost out on some key targets this summer already. And we've got to get those over the line and see where we go from there, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys, because like I said, there's some key signings happening. Negotiations seem to be happening behind closed doors. And that's a bonus. I think we have to remember, players are actually on holiday at the moment. So even to get them, to come back and fly over and get their medicals done, or all of that stuff's going to take time. So I think we just have to be super patient. There's been obviously a lot of structure in terms of board level, corporate level. A lot of those changes are happening now. And the fact that they're happening in quick succession tells you that the club are trying to get these deals done super quick. So someone DM'd me after watching one of my videos a few weeks ago and asked me if I'm panicking now because I said not to panic in a previous video. My answer is no, not really, because you can see just from the level of conversations that seem to be happening and negotiations that seem to be happening, we're trying to get deals done. If we were still sort of quiet on the ground and you didn't really hear anything and there was nothing coming out in terms of reports and sources, and it's happening. You can see things are going to happen over a course of time. No need to panic. We're trying to get the right players in. Do I think we're going to get them all in this window? Like I said earlier, I don't think so. I think there's going to be opportunity for us to look at this window, assess where we are, get a crop of players in that are going to be able to do a job, sustain us for another season. And it's next season for me where the real push needs to go, in terms of we've got the structure at the top right, we've got our recruitment strategy right, we've got a couple of key players that have come in that will do a job over a season, we retain them, and we add to that in the next summer transfer window. That's when I'm judging, because we've got to get that bit right. The summer bit, the structure seems to be coming in, the recruitment strategy seems to be coming in, players seem to be coming in. But next summer, the next summer transfer window, that's when we need to judge everything, and we need to look at it from that point on. This window, I can see us bringing in a couple of players, and I can see us sustaining maybe a top four. I don't see us pushing for the Premier League this season, but sustaining that top four, and then next season we push, because we can't. This is a transitional period. We can't expect all these players that we need to come in to gel and do so well first season. It's going to take a couple of weeks, couple of months. We have to give it time. So I think, like I said, over the next 18 months, we shall see. But this has been T.Dot. As you can see at the very bottom of the screen, the social accounts are still there. Make sure you follow those. Like I said earlier, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts about what we've discussed in terms of transfers, and Petr Cech in the comments as well. And are you panicking? Are you panicking as a Chelsea fan in terms of transfers? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This has been T.Dot. Until next time, take care, and I will be back with another video very soon. Thanks for watching.